The galactic summit had turned the massive orbital station Elith Prime into a glittering city of lights. Hundreds of alien species moved through its long corridors, giants of crystal skin. Its insectoid nobles with wings like glass and slender energy forms that shimmered instead of walking. Among them, the humans stood out not because they were the most powerful, but because they were still new. Only 5 years had passed since Earth had joined the Council, and most aliens didn't know what to think of them. Commander Ethan Ward, a security officer from Earth's diplomatic corps, had been posted to the Valari delegation. His job was simple on paper: protect the Valari ambassador and make sure no conflict broke out during the summit. But Ethan knew that nothing involving aliens was ever simple. The Valari were a beautiful, mysterious species, tall, elegant, with skin that carried the soft glow of minerals under light. They wore something unlike any fabric known to humans. It wasn't clothing at all, but living biofabric grown from their own cells. It changed color with their emotions, rippled with movement, and shimmered during certain rituals that even human scientists didn't fully understand. Ethan had been told, during training, never stare at a Valar when their fabric shifts colors. It's a private custom. He remembered that. He really did. But humans were naturally curious. Ethan was more curious than most. On his 3rd week aboard Elith Prime, after a long security shift, Ethan sat in the small control room outside the Valari ambassador's quarters. His job that night was to monitor the holoscreens connected to the diplomatic suites. Each suite had security feeds standard protocol for any important guest. The screens showed quiet halls, flickering lights, and guards making their rounds. Then one feed caught his eye. It was Ambassador Lyra Vesha's chamber. Lyra was unlike anyone Ethan had ever met. She spoke little, but when she did, her words carried weight. Her voice was smooth and calm, like someone who'd seen centuries. Her species lived longer than humans, and her eyes, gold with narrow pupils, seemed to hold the reflection of distant suns. On the screen, she stood by a circular window, her form outlined by the galaxy's light. Her biofabric flowed from dark silver to soft gold. It looked like liquid sunlight wrapping around her body. The computer automatically labeled the feed. Status: cleansing phase ritual, authorized. Visual: that meant it wasn't restricted. The Valari's clothing changed color after every diplomatic audience, purging stress hormones from their skin. It was biological, not cultural. Still, Ethan couldn't look away. The movement of the biofabric was fascinating. It wasn't like normal clothing. It breathed. It reacted to Lyra's heartbeat. Sometimes it pulsed, like living silk. Other times it froze, catching light like metal. The way it responded to her emotions, changing shades between gold, blue, and white, looked almost alive. He didn't think about how long he was watching. He was studying, learning, trying to understand this alien species. But the moment stretched. His eyes followed the patterns of light and energy moving across her form. Like a living language he was trying to read, then the door hissed open. Ethan turned sharply, expecting another guard. Instead, Ambassador Lyra Vesha herself stepped into the control room. The glow from her biofabric filled the space, tinting the metal walls with a soft green hue. Her tall frame moved with calm grace. Her eyes, golden and bright, locked on him with an expression he couldn't read. "Commander Ward," she said quietly. Her voice had no anger, only a strange calm. "You have been observing." Ethan stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Ma'am Ambassadore was just conducting a standard security check on the feed. "It's routine." Her gaze stayed fixed. The biofabric around her shifted from green to pale silver. "Routine?" she repeated, tilting her head slightly. "For how long?" He froze. He didn't know what to say. The truth, or something official. He decided on the truth. "A few minutes, maybe more. I didn't realize that change was happening." Lyra stepped closer. The air seemed to grow thicker. She stopped just a few feet away. "Among my people," she said, "to watch a Valari's fabric shift is considered intimate. It is not forbidden, but it means curiosity. And curiosity is rarely innocent." Ethan swallowed hard. "I didn't mean anything wrong, Ambassador. I was just trying to understand." The corners of her mouth turned slightly upward. Not quite a smile. "Understand," she echoed softly. "Humans always wish to understand everything they see, even when it belongs to another." Her tone wasn't accusation, it was wonder. The biofabric at her shoulder flickered again, green mixed with faint gold. Ethan remembered his cultural notes. Green meant thoughtfulness. Gold meant interest. "I can delete the footage if you wish," Ethan offered quickly. "It wasn't meant to invade your privacy." Lyra studied him for a long moment. "You think this is about privacy?" she asked. "Among Valari, the changes life fit cannot be hidden. What matters is why one chooses to watch." Ethan felt a strange heat rise in his chest. "Then, what does it mean if someone watches?" She tilted her head again, considering. "It means they wish to see beyond the surface, to know what makes the color shift." Her biofabric dimmed to a calm silver blue, the color of neutrality. She looked down at him. "Humans were shorter than most," Valarian said quietly. "Perhaps you are not like the others who stare for amusement. You looked as if you were listening." He blinked. "Listening." She stepped back slightly, turning her gaze toward the window that showed the endless stars. "The Valari fabric hums when it shifts. It carries patterns, our emotions, our thoughts. To one who truly listens, it speaks." Ethan hadn't noticed that before. But now that she mentioned it, he remembered faint vibrations in the feet, a low rhythmic pulse that might have been sound. "I wasn't listening," he said. "But maybe I should have been." Lyra's expression softened. "Then perhaps you are forgiven." She turned to leave, then paused at the doorway. "Curiosity, Commander Ward, is dangerous among diplomats. But sometimes it is also necessary." Before he could answer, she was gone. The door slid shut, leaving behind a soft trace of golden light. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The conversation played in his head again and again. He'd been careless, maybe even disrespectful, but she hadn't been angry. There had been something else in her tone. Something like, intrigued, he thought about the way her biofabric had shifted when she spoke, almost as if it mirrored her thoughts. Could the colors be a language? Could humans learn to read it? The next morning, he studied the security manual again. The Valari section had only 2 paragraphs. It explained the basics of their biology, but said nothing about emotional signaling. "Highly advanced," the note said. "Valari biofabric communicates subtle states beyond human understanding." Ethan frowned. Maybe that was the problem. Humans always assumed things were beyond understanding until someone tried hard enough. When he reported to duty, the guards whispered behind him. Word had spread that the human had been caught watching the alien ambassador's ritual. He ignored the talk, focusing on his tasks. But the stares followed him. By evening, he received a message on his communicator. "Ambassador Lyra Vesha requests your presence. Chamber 12. Immediately, he froze. Had she changed her mind? Was this formal reprimand? The corridor to Chamber 12 was silent, lined with glowing runes that pulsed in rhythm with the ship's life support. When the door opened, Lyra was there standing by a pool of blue light. She turned as he entered. Her biofabric glowed soft white now, peaceful and calm. "Commander," she said, "you study security. But tell me, have you ever studied culture?" Ethan shook his head slowly. "Not deeply, no." "And learn this," she said. "In Valar language, curiosity is not insult. It is a form of courage. We call it the first step toward invitation." "Invitation to what?" Ethan asked carefully. "To understanding," she replied simply. "And understanding, Commander Ward, is the foundation of peace." He realized then that she wasn't angry, she was testing him. Seeing if humanity could see beyond habit and fear. He stood straight and nodded. "Then I'll keep learning, Ambassador." She studied him with that same golden gaze, and the faintest shimmer of gold rippled through her biofabric again. "Then humanity may yet surprise the stars," she murmured. Ethan didn't fully understand what she meant, but he knew this wasn't the end of their story. As he left her chamber, the corridors of Eleth Prime seemed brighter, alive with possibility. For the first time, he felt that maybe curiosity wasn't a weakness at all. It was what made humans different, what made them dangerous, unpredictable, and endlessly fascinating to the galaxy. And somewhere behind him, in her chamber of light and silence, the alien diplomat watched the security feed again, this time with the smallest of smiles. The next morning, Elith Prime hummed with a strange sense of anticipation. Word of Ethan Ward's encounter with Ambassador Lyra Vesha had already spread through the station's quieter corridors. Some of the council staff whispered about humans and their unpredictable nature. Others simply shook their heads, uncertain whether to admire his honesty or worry about the consequences. Ethan walked the corridors with careful awareness. His security scanner was active, his uniform crisp. His mind focused, but a part of him was already replaying the previous night's encounter. The words of the ambassador lingered. Curiosity is a form of courage. We call it the first step toward invitation. Invitation. The word circled endlessly in his thoughts. He did not know what kind of invitation it was, but he sensed it was something beyond the routine security briefing he had expected to perform that morning by midday. A hollow message arrived on his communicator. The screen projected a soft golden light, and the message read, Commander Ward. You are requested in Ambassador Lyra Vesha's quarters. Immediate attention required. Lyra Vesha, Ethan exhaled and straightened his uniform. This was not a reprimand. She did not call the station's security to intervene, nor had she contacted the council to lodge a complaint. This was personal. He made his way through the polished corridors, past alien delegates and their retinues. Some glanced at him curiously, sensing his connection to the Valari ambassador. Others avoided eye contact entirely, aware that whatever was happening might be delicate or dangerous. When he arrived at her quarters, the door opened smoothly with a hiss. Lyra stood inside, framed by the glowing window that overlooked the endless expanse of stars. Her biofabric rippled with a soft, flowing bluer color that seemed to hum with calm intelligence. You came quickly, she observed. Her tone was not a question, but an acknowledgement. I did, ma'am, Ethan replied. He stepped inside, his boots silent on the polished floor. You requested me? Lyra's eyes, golden and sharp, studied him. Yes, you have shown curiosity, and you have not hidden it. This is unusual among humans. Ethan felt a twinge of both pride and embarrassment. I meant no offense. I was just learning. Her biofabric shimmered softly, moving like gentle water across her skin. Learning is always noble, she said, and yet learning is often uncomfortable. Many fear what they do not understand. You did not turn away. I guess I didn't know what to turn away from, he said honestly. Everything about your species is remarkable. The clothes, the rituals, the way your skin glows. I wanted to understand. I still do. Lyra tilted her head, her golden eyes softening. Then, perhaps you are ready to learn more. But learning requires more than observation. It requires trust, and trust is earned, not given. Ethan nodded, his pulse quickening. I am ready to earn it, ma'am. She gestured toward the center of her quarters. A hollow pool lay there, a circular basin filled with a liquid-like light that shimmered and shifted. This, she said, is a Valari memory pool. It can show moments from the past truths hidden in light and sound. Few are allowed to witness it, even among my people. But you, I think you may be ready. Ethan stepped closer, cautious but intrigued. Memory pool. Lyra's biofabric glowed pale gold as she placed a hand near the surface. Ripples spread across the liquid light, and the basin began to reflect images, slowly at first, then more clearly. He saw ancient Valari explorers navigating alien worlds. He saw vast crystal cities, starships carved from living metal, and moments of conflict and diplomacy that had shaped their civilization. These are our ancestors, Lyra explained. They met other species and faced choices that defined our survival. Observe carefully. Notice not only what they did, but why they did it. Every gesture, every decision. Every shift of color in their fabric was communication. Ethan's eyes widened. The images were not just history, they were lessons. He realized the patterns in their movements, the subtle cues in their fabric, and the decisions made with both courage and caution. You see? Lyra asked. We must adapt, learn, and endure. Our clothing, our colors, our rituals, they are all part of our survival. But humans, you rely on something else. Honesty, curiosity, determination. You show what is within, not only what is expected. Ethan took a deep breath. We've survived because we face what comes even when we don't fully understand it. Maybe that's why I watched last night. I wanted to see truth, not surface. Her eyes softened further. Truth is rare. Many fear it. Humans. You seek it. That is your greatest strength, and sometimes your greatest risk. They spent hours at the pool, observing history and discussing the lessons of the past. Lyra spoke of diplomacy, trust, and the delicate balance between curiosity and caution. Ethan listened, absorbing everything. He began to see why the Valari had survived for millennia, not through strength alone, but through understanding, patience, and the courage to act with insight rather than impulse. At one point, the memory pool displayed a scene from centuries ago, Valari Diplomat negotiating peace with a warlike species. The alien delegate shifted its own biofabric into vibrant reds and blacks, threatening violence. Lyra pointed out the subtle changes in the Valare ambassador's own fabric, the almost invisible waves of calming silver and deep blue. Observe closely, she said. Our survival depends on noticing the smallest shift, understanding its meaning, and responding not with fear, but with clarity. Humans, you have an advantage here. You are not afraid to act on instinct, but your instinct seeks truth. You notice what is real, not what is projected. Ethan nodded slowly, understanding dawning on him. So, we complement each other. We see directly, you. Read the signals. Lyra's faint smile glimmered through the biofabric. Perhaps that is why you are here, Commander Ward. Not only to guard, but to observe, to learn, and perhaps to teach. Ethan felt a swell of pride. This was not just a lesson. It was an invitation, in every sense she had mentioned the night before. But he reminded himself that the stakes were high. One wrong step, one misread gesture, and the delicate trust he was forming could shatter. Ambassador, he said carefully, I will do my best to learn and honor your trust. Her biofabric shifted to pale green, the Valary color of thought and reflection. That is all I ask. And in time, perhaps you will also understand the deeper meaning behind our rituals. Why we shift, why we conceal, and reveal. As the hours passed, the station outside continued its rhythm ships docking. Diplomats meeting, the hum of life across 1,000 worlds. But within Lyra's quarters, time seemed to stretch differently. The golden light from the stars mingled with the soft glow of the memory pool, reflecting in Ethan's eyes and across the ambassador's biodash fabric. Then she paused, turning to him fully. Curiosity without understanding can be dangerous. Humans often act on impulse, seeing without learning. But you have shown restraint. You have observed without intrusion. That is why you remain here, unscathed, and why you may yet influence more than you know. Ethan realized the weight of her words. It wasn't enough to be human. It was enough to be honest, careful, and willing to see the truth behind appearances. Lyra stepped closer. The room seemed to grow warmer with the gentle glow of her biofabric. Humans have changed the galaxy in ways my ancestors never expected. They arrive without understanding our ways, yet they adapt, survive, and sometimes surpass us. Perhaps it is your fearlessness, or perhaps your honesty, but humans are unpredictable. Ethan swallowed. I understand, and I want to continue understanding. Her biofabric pulsed gold again, a Valary sign of approval. Good, then you may remain. Observe, learn, and act. Remember, Commander Ward, even when you think you are watching, you are also being watched. Trust and honesty are the currency of this work. He nodded, humbled. I will remember, ma'am. The rest of the day passed quietly. Ethan returned to his security duties, but with a new perspective. He no longer simply monitored corridors and cameras. He noticed the smallest gestures of the alien staff, the subtle changes in the delegates' expressions, and the ripple of light across their bodies. Every movement, every flicker of color carried meaning. By nightfall, Lyra contacted him once again. This time it was not a formal message, but a simple invitation to discuss the patterns he had noticed over the day. As Ethan stepped into her quarters, he realized the meaning of her earlier words. Humans were not merely observers, they were participants. Their honesty and curiosity could disturb, enlighten, and even inspire. And in that moment, Ethan understood why he had been chosen not just to guard, but to see. Lyra's biofabric glimmered in soft gold as she gestured toward the memory pool. Tomorrow, you will witness a lesson of diplomacy that changed the course of our history. But tonight, you will learn about patience, observation, and the quiet power of restraint. Ethan nodded, feeling both awe and responsibility. The galaxy was vast, the species countless. But here in this chamber, humanity had earned a place not through weapons, not through strategy, but through the courage to observe, learn, and remain honest in the face of the unknown. And as the stars outside shimmered in silence, he realized that the adventure of understanding the Valori and perhaps influencing the galaxy was only just beginning. The next day, the Galactic Council chambers buzzed with tension. Delegates from 100 worlds had gathered, their voices a chorus of alien languages. The humans, still new to the council, were under intense scrutiny. Security cameras tracked every movement, and Ethan Ward felt the weight of responsibility heavier than ever. The previous days had been a lesson in observation, restraint, and understanding. Lyra Vesha had guided him through the intricacies of Valori culture, teaching him that survival often depended on reading not just words, but intentions, gestures, and colors. Today, however, was a test. A crisis had erupted. A neighboring species, the Trellari, accused humanity of espionage. They claimed that a human security officer had accessed sensitive diplomatic feeds. An allegation technically true, but entirely misinterpreted. Ethan knew the accusation was dangerous. Misunderstandings could lead to war. Humans were still considered unpredictable. He had been summoned to the council floor to respond. As he walked toward the chamber, he replayed Lyra's lessons in his mind. Observe closely. Trust and honesty are your tools. Act with clarity, not fear. The chamber was vast, its ceiling disappearing into the shadows, lit by floating orbs of light that shifted colors with the mood of the room. Delegates murmured as Ethan entered, their eyes focused on him. At the center, the Trellari delegate rose, its crystalline body reflecting light in sharp, harsh angles. Commander Ward, it hissed, its voice like scraping metal. You have violated the privacy of the Valari ambassador. Explain yourself. Ethan squared his shoulders. I did access a feed, he admitted, but not for spying. My actions were part of security oversight. I paused the footage to understand the Valari customs, to ensure that no threat went unnoticed. A murmur ran through the delegates. The Trellari delegate glared, its facets reflecting anger. Customs do not excuse intrusion. Before the situation could escalate, a calm voice filled the chamber. Enough. Lyra Vesha stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. Her biofabric pulsed deep crimson, the color of public declaration among her people. Every eye in the chamber turned to her. This human did not violate me, she said firmly. He observed because he seeks to understand, not to exploit. Humans are new to our ways. Mistakes born of curiosity are not crimes. They are opportunities for trust. The Trellari hissed and attempted to interject, but Lyra's tone stopped them. Commander Ward has shown restraint, honesty, and patience. He did what most humans would not. He watched carefully, learned, and reported accurately. These qualities are rare among observers, even among my own people. The room was silent. Ethan could feel the weight of every gaze, every judgment. Then Lyra stepped closer to him, the soft glow of her biofabric reflecting on his uniform. Observe, Commander Ward, she continued. And remember this. Humans may be untested, impulsive, and unpredictable, but they are also capable of seeing truth where others see only deception. Today, you have demonstrated that humanity's strength is not in its weapons, but in its willingness to understand, to act honestly, and to face the unknown without fear. Ethan straightened, holding his head high. "Thank you, Ambassador," he said. Lyra's eyes softened, and her biofabric shifted to pale gold, the Valerie color of approval and warmth. "You see, Commander Ward, it is not enough to be strong or clever. One must also see clearly and act with purpose. Humans have this capacity, and for that, they are respected even by those who doubt them." The Trilari delegate stiffened, then slowly lowered its crystalline shoulders. It realized that its accusations could not withstand the ambassador's authority. The council members whispered among themselves, and one by one, challenge dissolved. Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. The crisis was resolved not by human force or cunning, but by the honesty and integrity he had displayed. Lyra's guidance, his restraint, his willingness to learn, had turned a potential disaster into a demonstration of humanity's unique strength. After the council meeting, Lyra approached him in a quiet corridor. Her biofabric flowed softly, shifting in gentle waves of green and silver. "You did well today," she said. "Many would have acted out of fear or pride. You acted out of understanding." Ethan nodded. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance, ma'am." Lyra's expression softened. "Perhaps, but you chose to observe carefully, to act honestly, and to learn from what you saw. That is your own choice, and it is what earned respect for your people today." They walked together through the corridors of Alith Prime, passing delegations from across the galaxy. Some whispered, some stared, but all noticed the unusual partnership forming between human and Valerie. Ethan realized that this was more than a lesson in diplomacy. It was a bridge between two very different civilizations. Later, in her private quarters, Lyra led him to the memory pool once more. "Tonight, you will witness something beyond observation," she said. "You will see how decisions of courage, honesty, and understanding shape the Valerie history, on how humans, in their own way, embody the same principles." The pool shimmered and revealed a scene from centuries past. A group of Valerie diplomats negotiating peace with a warring species. The alien delegates displayed threatening colors and movements, attempting to intimidate the Valerie. Yet the Valari ambassador remained calm, reading the subtle changes in their fabric. Responding not with fear, but with clarity. Ethan watched closely. He recognized the pattern she had taught him, observing, understanding, responding. The Valari had survived not because of weapons or strength alone, but because they read the truth beneath the surface and acted with purpose. "Do you see now?" Lyra asked softly. "This is what I wished to teach you. Observation without understanding is empty. Action without clarity is dangerous. Humanity, in your honesty and curiosity, mirrors this lesson in your own way. You see what is real, and that is powerful." Ethan nodded, absorbing every detail. "I understand," he said. "It's not just about watching, it's about learning, understanding, and acting carefully." Lyra's biofabric rippled in approval. "Exactly. And today, you proved that humans are capable of such understanding. You did not act recklessly, you did not hide from responsibility, and you did not let fear guide your actions. That is why the Council respected you today. That is why they respected humanity." He realized then that the journey of observation had become a journey of growth. Humanity had entered the galactic stage not only with curiosity, but with courage and integrity. His own small actions, watching carefully, pausing to learn, demonstrated the values that humans carried into the galaxy. The night passed with quiet conversation and reflection. Ethan and Lyra spoke about diplomacy, strategy, and the delicate balance between observation and action. He realized that trust, once earned, could create bridges stronger than any weapon. When he left her quarters that night, the corridors of Elith Prime felt different. The lights, the ships, the delegations, everything seemed connected in a larger pattern of understanding and respect. He walked with a sense of purpose. knowing that humans had shown their strength not by domination, but by clarity, honesty, and courage. Days later, when the summit concluded, Ethan reflected on what he had learned. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders, and humans were still new to it all. Yet in a room full of alien delegates, he had demonstrated that humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology, but its willingness to face the unknown with honesty, curiosity, and courage. Lyra's final words before departure echoed in his mind. Humans see what others do not. They act with honesty even when the cost is high. And in that, they change the galaxy not through fear, but through truth. Ethan smiled quietly, understanding at last. His brief moment of curiosity, the moment when he had paused to watch the Valari, Diplomat's fabric change, had been more than observation. It had been the first step toward trust, understanding, and a bond that could influence countless worlds. And as he watched the stars drift past the station's windows, he knew that this was only the beginning. Humans were here, unpredictable and honest. Ready to face the galaxy, and perhaps? Ready to teach it something about courage and truth that no alien species had yet learned. For the first time, Ethan felt not just duty, but pride. He was a human in a galaxy of the unknown, and in that position, he had shown that humanity's greatest gift was its willingness to see, to learn, and to act with integrity. Lyra Vetcha watched him from her quarters one last time, her biofabric glowing with warmth and approval. The ambassador knew that humanity had entered the galactic stage, not only as a participant, but as a force capable of shaping the future, not with fear. Not with power, but with clarity, courage, and an unyielding spirit. And somewhere in the endless stars, other species began to notice. Humans were different. Humans were honest. Humans were unpredictable. And humans Commander Ethan Ward included were already changing the galaxy in ways that no one had expected.